It was an absolutely atrocious weekend for the lock of the night play, as we had some very weird circumstances over the 5 regional events that we had. We ended up going 1-4 on lock of the night plays for minus 17.44 units and a minus 69% ROI. The lone victor was Jur Harris, I believe his name is, for Cage Warriors, as he wasn't looking that great either until he was able to snatch up the ninja choke and get the tap against his opponent. But we had a Hail Mary first round knockout for LFA. We had an absolute death gas from Linton Vassell after having a stellar first round, a death gas from Melissa Mullins, who was a UFC play as well, and then just a weird situation in the KSW lock of the night play that we had there as well. But the Melissa Mullins one is the one that I want to hone in on here, quickly recapping that. A weird death gas, right? Normally we see her tape in her footage. She has great cardio. She has a great ability to put her opponent on her back and really just dominate them from that top position. Cornell has normally shown horrible takedown defense. She's shown some decent reversals against lower levels of competition, but I really thought that Mullins was going to be able to keep her in a position that she was not going to be able to get out of. And that was not the case. Cornell was able to get out of those spots, hurt Mullins, eventually finished her in the second round. Not anything that I would have predicted to happen, especially considering what we saw on tape. And that's all you can really go off of when you're breaking down some of these matchups. So very, very disappointing Melissa Mullins that night. Snapping the 3 UFC event winning streak that we had for lock of the night plays, was doing pretty well up until then, but ended up eating shit this weekend. We try to bounce back, but the record now is 23-16 on the year for lock of the night plays. Very disgusting, not where we want to be at all. Minus 22.27 units for a minus 11% ROI. We got 2 events that we're breaking down this week that will have lock of the night plays. Hopefully we can chip away back at that and get back down to those single digits of units, and then get back to the black, get back to the green. But horrible weekend. Ugh. You got to wear that, though. You got to wear it. You can't just always be puffing up the dubs. You got to go with the L's as well, and that was definitely an L of a weekend. Obviously, I got another 3 lock of the night candidates here for you guys for UFC 300. Just a reminder, these are all candidates. Doesn't necessarily mean that I bet them or would suggest betting them. It just means that one of these fighters will be a lock of the night play for me. I've already placed a wager on them. I've already let the Patreon folks know who they are. So it's up to you to either figure it out or check out the Patreon and see which of the 3 that I actually went with as my official lock of the night play. So let's give you those 3 candidates right now and then see what you guys think. The first of which comes in the form of Bobby King Green, who comes in at minus 190, taking on Jim frickin' Miller, who just ended up picking up a victory back in January over Gabriel Benitez. Now for Bobby Green, he got knocked out in December back against Jalen Turner in a matchup that probably wasn't the greatest for him, stylistically speaking, considering the range and power that we were seeing from Jalen Turner and his ability to establish that against Bobby Green. Now, Green is normally a guy that likes to utilize his volume striking approach, utilizing solid combinations, walking his opponents down, putting pressure on them, and just styling on them more often than not. He's going to have a significant striking advantage here over Jim Miller. Miller has some power and pop early in fights, but if Bobby can roll with those shots as he normally has been doing and really putting the pace and pressure on Jim Miller, he should be able to wear him out and start running away with this fight in deep waters, and I expect him to win this fight on the scorecards and handing Jim Miller the first loss in his fights on the Century cards. If you guys remember, he fought at UFC 100, UFC 200, but I think UFC 300 is the first fight he ends up losing. Second lock of the night candidate is going to be Alexander Rakic, coming in at minus 120 as he takes on former champion Yuri Prochazka, and this comes down to styles. Rakic has a style to be competitive in the striking realm. He's the technically better striker, but I think it's going to be his advantage in the grappling realm, where you'll look to try to exploit Prochazka's poor takedown defense and inability to work back to his feet in certain spots. Now, we saw Glover Teixeira utilize that effectively against Prochazka, but it ended up gassing out and giving up that submission in the 5th round of their fight. If you look back at the scorecards, Teixeira won the first 2 rounds with relative ease on the scorecards, gave up the 3rd round, and then eventually got finished in the 5th. Luckily for Rakic, he only has to do it for 3 rounds, and I think he can do it for at least 2.5, keeping Prochazka on his back and keeping him in uncomfortable positions. Minus 120 is a great line if this fight plays out the way that I expect it to, and I think that Alexander Rakic is worth consideration as a potential lock of the night play. The third and final lock of the night candidate is going to be in the form of Arman Tsarukyan, who comes in at minus 225 as he takes on Charles do Bronx Oliveira. Now, Arman Tsarukyan is looking to get that rematch against Islam Makhachev, this time for a title rather than his debut, where it was just a random fight on a fight night card. But this time around, it will obviously mean way more to him, considering it will be for the lightweight title. But first, he needs to overcome the obstacle that is Charles Oliveira. Charles is 12-1 over his last 13 fights, but I don't think any of those 12 can hold a candle to what Arman Tsarukyan is going to be able to do to him. I think Tsarukyan will have a solid wrestling advantage, and I think he'll be able to land a takedown or two, but I think he has good enough striking to really make Charles Oliveira pay on the feet. I think the speed, explosiveness, and power of Tsarukyan will eventually find the chin of Oliveira, put him down, and put him out with some club and drum. I don't think he'll be able to sub him like Makhachev did, but I do think that we'll see Tsarukyan's power come into play here, and he should be able to find that chin against Oliveira and knock him out here. Mix it up with the striking, mix it up with the grappling, but eventually find that opening to put him out. And I'm going to take Tsarukyan minus 225. Again, a little bit chalky, but I think Tsarukyan and Makhachev are the lightweight kingpins, and nobody's going to be able to defeat those guys. I get it. Matisse Gamrot took a very close, razor-close decision victory over Tsarukyan, but if they were to run that back, I would definitely take Tsarukyan once again. But this weekend, UFC 300, I'm going to go Tsarukyan over Charles Oliveira. Which of those three did I end up going with? Check out the Lock of the Night Patreon page to find out, as I've already posted it for the subscribers over there. Otherwise, let me know in the comment section below who you would go with, and we'll see how it ends up going up after the fights conclude this weekend. All right, I'll see you guys later today for the PFL breakdowns as well as the top 3 dog of the night candidates. See you then.